We are the Bible Twins, and this is episode 5. And it's funny because when it comes to the Bible, you can think of it as a lot of things. Most people think of it as scripture, as religious text. Still, a lot of people see it as a valuable document when it comes to how people have experienced the idea, the concept of God.
I see it as the world's most exciting history book, me personally.
And that's it really, because if nothing else, it's episodes like these that they're small, they feel small, they are small in length. In fact, I remember we were kind of joking around when we were planning this. It's kind of going to be our Leviticus.
Yeah.
Right? Of all of the episodes, it's that one that people won't go back to because like, oh, it's boring.
It doesn't have any,
value. And you know what? Maybe that's kind of true. But if nothing else, if anything, actually, it's episodes like these for us that really remind us of why we're doing this, that show us the passion and the drive that we have for this channel. Of all of the books that have ever been written, all the pieces of literature, all the writings we humans have made, the Bible really is one of the few ones that could justify having its own warrant, having its own channel like this, because this episode is going to show you just how reliable, how real, how true the Bible really is. More than the religious stuff, just looking at the history it records and the cultures that the people who wrote this book lived in over 1,500 years. That's a lot of time to be knowledgeable. Most of the people who wrote the Bible, very knowledgeable people.
very smart, big brain.
Because the thing is, almost everything we're going to mention in this episode is not exclusive to the Bible. You'll find it in other documents, other parts of history.
You might find it in
these
other
cultures.
religious texts.
So, with all of that said, we've got, well, like I said, this is going to be kind of the Leviticus of this whole show.
Today we're focusing on weights, measures, and money. We're going to be talking about the scales, the systems, the currencies, just the things that they used back in the day to measure stuff and to determine how much value something is worth. This isn't necessarily going to be an exciting episode. We're not going to try and make it what it's not. We're just going to give you the facts on, the weights, measures, and money of the Bible. But, I'm happy to be doing this episode because, it kind of, I don't want to be egotistical. It's just, it really makes me see the value in this channel. It's like, we stand out, I imagine, when it comes to Christian-focused channels, because here we are, two twins, analyzing the Bible, not necessarily for Jesus's teachings or for, the many stories of God being the great and powerful, mighty Father that he is, or all of the wise words and directions that the Holy Spirit gave many of the greatest leaders in church history.
Nah, we're just here talking about how people use money.
It's like the Bible, these parts of the Bible that aren't, sermon ready or, preacher optimized, they still deserve a lot of love to be focused on and studied. We've had thousands of years, debating, agreeing, and just earnestly talking about the parts of the Bible that matter to our souls. So, why not talk about the other parts of the Bible? Why not give them the same amount of fervent and passionate attention that they absolutely deserve?
And with all that said, we've got this table here split up into multiple sections about the type of units that we're going to be mentioning. We're going to mention the biblical terms first, of course, Old Testament and New Testament. And then we've got the two modern scales that people use. You've got the metric scale.
Invented in Europe and around the world.
This is basically what everyone else uses. Except if you're living in the country where this
The United States of
filmed.
America. They use the imperial scale.
And we'll be mentioning imperial before metric because imperial converts into metric.
Yes,
but
it
metric
does.
Doesn't convert into imperial.
Really?
Well, it does, but don't ever say that.
I'm shocked.
You know what?
So you can't convert metric into imperial, seriously. The
Didn't
US is
say
that selfish and
I didn't say that. You know,
wow.
we're just gonna start.
Okay.
We're just gonna start. So, looking at weight first, that's how heavy something is, right?
In the Bible, let's start with the Old Testament, because the New Testament has completely different units. We're going to be covering a lot today. This is going to be a short episode, but it's still going to be quite a deep one. We have a talent. This is definitely the most well known. You guys have probably heard this throughout the Bible. It itself is 1 talent equals 60 minas. I don't know how to pronounce that.
If you're living in America, that is 75 pounds. If you're living anywhere else, that's 34 kilograms.
Moving down, we have a mina, which in of itself is equal to 50 shekels.
If you're living in America, that's 1¼ pounds, 1.25. If you're living anywhere else, that's 0.6 kilograms.
Moving down again, we have a shekel, which is equal to 2 becas.
If you're living in America, that's 0.4 ounces. If you're living anywhere else, that's 11.3 grams. Well, look at the difference.
Then we have a pim, no particles. I am hip with our young viewers. This is equivalent to 2/3 of a shekel, or 0.66.
Good thing that it didn't say 6-7. You know, we're always going to be on this. I remember a few episodes ago we were on everyone about it, and we'll continue to be on you all.
We need to ensure that we're not distracted by anything like that.
Reject materialism. Return to two guys just reading off of something for an hour.
Isn't that what all podcasts do?
If you live in America, that's 0.33 ounces, so 1/3 of an ounce. If you're living anywhere else, that's 9.4 grams.
Then we've got a beka, which is 10 geras.
If you're living in America, that's 0.2 ounces. If you're living anywhere else, that's 5.7 grams.
And finally, the smallest weight unit of the Old Testament was a gera.
A single gera. If you're living in America, that is 0.02 ounces.
Which is absolutely nothing.
If you're living anywhere else, that's 0.6 grams.
Can you imagine how heavy 1 talent is? 75 pounds? That's like a decent amount of my whole body. It can't be that heavy to lift like a coin or something, right? I'm saying. Now we've got the New Testament with only one weight unit. This is the pound, not the British pound, the Roman litra.
So what is the litra then?
I'm not sure.
The Roman litra, so that means it's the Romans' version of something, the litra. I'm like Greece, does it come from like Greece or something? Please tell us if you do know.
Genuinely, we are asking because we have no idea.
I mean, we do our research on these things, but we don't do that much. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
We do our research on these videos, but we don't try and distract from just focusing on the
It's interesting because this is actually quite heavy. If you're living in America, that's 12 ounces. Well, compared to most of the stuff we've talked about. If you're living anywhere else, that's 340.2 grams. And that's it for weight. Next up, we've got length.
Focusing on the
that
Bible.
Means, when you measure someone with a tape measure, something like that.
My sister has a tape measure. She uses it in her sewing all the time.
I'm just not sure. Oh wow, you want to mention that?
If we're gonna make this YouTube channel be successful, we gotta connect with our audiences, and to do that, it's like we gotta share.
All right, so looking at biblical terms first.
In the Bible, the Old Testament, we have a cubit, which is 2 spans. If you don't know, a span is the length of your arm. Yes, they actually used the length of your arm to measure how long something was back in the Bible. And they did it twice.
Of course, this never would have worked anyway. This is wildly inaccurate because, people's arms are different lengths, and there definitely wasn't a way to get the standard thumb figure, but oh well, what are you gonna do, man? If you're living in America, this is 18 inches long. Anywhere else, that's 46 centimeters.
Now we've got a span, which is 3 hand breadths, which is the length of your hand 3 times over.
Again, varies quite a bit, but apparently the average was, if you're living in America, 9 inches, and if you're living anywhere else, that's 23 centimeters.
Then you've got a hand breadth, which is 4 fingers. So they just take your 4 fingers, discounting your thumb, and they use that to calculate.
This varies!
This is a terrible measurement.
My God, I know.
Oh my goodness.
It's 3 inches if you're living in America, 7.6 centimeters if you're living anywhere else.
And finally, you've got a finger.
Which is like, just give up. Just give up. That's fine.
But this is.
Yo, if I'm a high priest in Jerusalem back in the day, I'm not doing this.
You're gonna use my finger to measure, bro?
Like, we use something else.
Nah. I'm not letting you touch my finger. Like, randomly like that. Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a finger. If you're living in America, it's 0.75 inches. If you're living anywhere else, that's 1.9 centimeters. Even though I know most fingers are probably longer than that.
Anyways, we move on to the New Testament, which fortunately brought actual normal measurement statistics.
Thank you.
We have the iconic, the measurement, the myth, the legend, the mile, which was equivalent to 8 stadians. I don't know how you would pronounce it.
Oh, wow. If you're living in America, that's 4,858 feet. And if you're living anywhere else, that's 1.5 kilometers. Even though a mile is 2,000 feet, right?
Well, something like that. I don't know. But it's definitely not that long.
It is. 1 mile is way shorter than that.
My goodness. Then we've got a stadion, which is equal to 100 fathoms.
Which, if you're living in America, that's 200 yards. And if you're living anywhere else, that's 183 meters.
Why were measurements so long back in the Bible days? What were we building that required this many yards?
I know, right?
Like 100 times 200. That's like, okay, 100 times 100 is...
Yo, don't think about this.
That's 20,000
You probably got that
wrong. I probably did the math wrong, you're right. Next we've got a reed, which is 3 paces. Did any of you do the pacer test growing up?
Oh,
if you did, comment below.
Oh my god.
Because I would rather do the pacer test 3 times in a row than walk the entire mile of 8 stadiums.
I'm making him do it after this. Just so you know. He's gonna come back tired.
I'm gonna tell you all the results next episode. You have my word.
Okay. I bet. If you're living in America, a reed is 9 feet long. Anywhere else, that's 2.7 meters.
Then we've got a fathom, which is 2 paces.
If you're living in America, that's 6 feet long. Anywhere else, that's 1.8 meters.
And finally, you've got a single pace.
If you're living in America, that's just 3 feet. And if anywhere else you're living, that is going to be 0.91 meters long.
Maybe this is where we get the word like pace around the room from, right?
I actually don't know. Well, that's it for length.
Most rooms are definitely bigger than 3 feet.
Now we've got liquid measures, and this is kind of like, so imagine all of these for milk. So when we
or water. I'm giving them an on-screen example.
Right?
That's my. Why do you have to do
I said milk, not water. No water, milk. Okay. So, for every single time we mention something, imagine it of milk. So here's an example of what I'm talking about.
Looking at the Old Testament's liquid measures, we've got a core or homer, which
of
is
milk.
10 baths
of milk.
What? Okay.
People don't bathe in milk. So if you're living in America, that's 58 gallons. Anywhere else, that's 220 liters.
Then we've got a bath, which is 6 hins.
If you're living in America, that's 5.8 gallons. And anywhere else, that is 22 liters.
Next up, we've got a hin, which is 12 logs. Logs as in tree logs?
Okay, well, I don't know if they're oak or if they're acacia or if they're birch or if they're walnut.
Dan, you know a lot of... Wait. You're referencing Minecraft.
No.
You just lied to my face.
Yeah, okay. If you're living in America, that's just 1 single gallon. And anywhere else, that's 3.8 liters.
Next, we have a cab, spelled with a K-A-B or a C-A-B. Not like that matters. No one uses this to measure.
So has he even read the Bible? It's like, is it just the Bible twin and some guy who just randomly joined me on for some of these? That's if you're living in America, that's 1.3 quarts. And anywhere else, that's 1.2 free liters.
And finally, you have a log.
Now in America, that is 0.7 pints. Anywhere else, that is 0.3 liters.
Luckily, the New Testament simplifies it all to just one liquid measure. It still has a really weird name though. It's called the firkin. At least it kind of sounds like something related.
Firkin. If you're living in America, that is going to be 10 gallons. And everywhere else, that is 39.9 liters. Why did they make it 40?
It's so close.
Perfect.
I mean, me personally, you know, our family, we use a Primo refill dispenser. It has 5 gallons.
Oh.
You know, and put them together, that's 10 gallons of water that we can just refill on a trip to our local Walmart. So. All right, next section.
Next up, we have dry measures. So instead of milk, think of this like it of flour.
Okay, yeah, another white thing. Good job.
So for example...
So unkind. So, in the Old Testament, we have a core or homer
of flour,
which is 10 ephahs.
Of flour.
Isn't this the same thing that started liquid measures?
Okay.
This is confusing.
It's fine. Now, if you're in America, that is 6 bushels. And if you live anywhere else, that's 218 liters. Really gotta respect the metric people for actually just simplifying everything. Like, it's liters, liters, liters. I'm seeing bushels and quarts and pints and gallons. It's like, no, don't do this.
Then we have the lefek, which is 5 ephahs.
If you live in America, that's 3 bushels. If you live anywhere else, that is 109 liters.
Then we have an ephah. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly.
No, he's not.
Which is 10 omers.
If you live in America, that is 23 quarts. Anywhere else, that is 18.9 liters.
Now we move on to a seah, as in an S-E-A-H, a seah, which, yeah, seah.
Not heya, but sure, why not? I'm not particularly into that song either. I know I just upset so many people by saying that.
Don't come after him, guys.
So that is, if you live in America, 7.7 quarts, and anywhere else, that's 7.3 liters.
Then we get to an omer. These names.
If you live in America, that is 2.3 quarts, and anywhere else, that is 2.2 liters. They actually managed to just barely line up. Impressed.
Finally, we have a cab or cab, as in a KAB or CAB, just like liquid measures. What is going on?
Okay, if you live in America, that's 1.3 quarts. And if you live anywhere else, that's 1.2 liters.
Dang, you got a mad slut.
You know, tangerines are better anyway.
Sorry, man.
Hands off my halos.
Tangerines are better though. Alright, now we get to the New Testament, which simplifies it again, and the names actually do make sense this time, unlike firkin, for example. We have, oh, look at this, a bushel.
What? Which is, if you live in America, that's 7.7 quarts, and anywhere else, that's 7.3 liters. These are kind of lining up, syncing, close enough.
Then you have a measure? A measurement called measure?
So a measure of flour. Which,
right.
If you live in America, that's 1.2 quarts, and anywhere else, that's 1.1 liters.
And then we have pots, pots.
All right, so I'm actually going to be collaborating with Nerdy Nummy soon. What she has to do at the start of the episode is she has to pour 8 pots of flour on herself. That actually sounds like the intro to an early Nerdy Nummy.
It does.
It really does.
Wow. Oh man, was that a Pacino the GOAT?
Actually works out pretty good.
Oh man, her content was so
still
awesome.
That's pretty small. If you live in America, that's only 1.2 pints, so just 1 pot of And then anywhere else, that's 0.6 liters.
All right, now
And that's it for weights and measures. But this episode is called Weights, Measures, and Money. So first off, the "and" is not supposed to be between the weights, measures. It's supposed to be between the measures, money. So money in the Bible. We've got monetary values here. We've got pretty simple. This is just going to be the name, and it's going to be the value in US dollars. Sorry. Euros don't make the cut this time.
A note about that value. You see, the value of the old monetary units from the Bible times, they depend on the weight of the currency, whether it's light or heavy, and on the type of currency, which back in the day, you only had two options, silver or gold.
I guess bronze felt left out, which is, gold was the best, and silver was second, and bronze was third.
I mean, we have the Bronze Age. That's a whole period of history. All right, from the Old Testament, we have a shekel.
Now, this is gonna be anywhere from, these price ranges, wow, 32 cents to $9.60. Yeah, I'd like to ask the folks, the experts, how did that happen? How do we have such a wide range?
Honestly, I don't know. Then we get to a mina, which is again 50 shekels.
So this can be anywhere from $16 to 480 quid.
And then finally we have a talent, which again is 60 minas.
This is 960 green bills to 28 grand.
To have a talent today, like, man, okay, all right. I'm chasing that money. Let's go. Just kidding. I really don't.
Not serve both God and man.
You didn't have to hit me with that. Oh my goodness. I don't care about any of this. Okay, I don't.
Don't take that with full context. He was joking about it.
So now we move on to the New Testament. We have a mite or lepton, not Lipton. I prefer Swiss Miss myself for my tea. Wait, that's hot cocoa.
This is 0.0012 cents.
That's literally nothing. We have a far thing, like far and thing, but they're put together in one word. Or quadrant, which equals 2 mites.
Or leptons, because that was their other name. 0.0024 cents.
This is... Wow. Then we have a penny. Wow, a penny. Oh, rest in peace to the penny. Gone too soon. Actually, no. People say you were worthless and that we needed to cut you out, but still gonna miss you guys. This is equal to 1 Roman denarius.
This was 16 cents. Wow, the daily wage of a laborer. I don't think anyone would even want to work if they knew they were getting paid so little.
That's awful.
Who knows? Maybe with inflation, that's 2,000 years of inflation. Can't be that bad now, right?
Well, isn't this worse? Because now it's shrunken down to 0.01. It's gone from at least 16 cents to just a single cent. Imagine if that was their daily wage. None of them would actually be able to live. And we get to the mina or pound, which here is equal to 100 Roman denarii.
And that is just $16.
Okay, I guess the mina really decreased in value from the Old Testament to the New Testament? Dang, what happened? Well, I guess the shekel was done away with because of the Romans. And finally, we got to a talent, which once again is super expensive. It's equivalent to 240 Roman aurei, A-U-R-E-I.
Man, these songs are weird, but hey, they got talent. Lots of countries got talent. They don't have, some of the shows are better than some of the others, but I know none of them cost as little as what this is worth, just $960. All right, let's do this. Let's go. So, a reflection. Nah, just kidding. Seriously, we talked about it in the beginning of the episode. The fact that we even have this episode at all is impressive. First off,
I've learned something new today about how currency works and measurements.
I believe we've managed to somehow make this interesting enough to work.
Definitely.
And if nothing else, like I said, the Bible isn't just some really nice theology to sleep on. It is a real book about real people doing real things
with
in
real currencies,
real times. The fact that we have these currencies here proves
that's awesome.
that the Bible is pretty legit. So, yeah, that's about it.
Don't use any of these measurements in your day-to-day life, though.
Definitely not. And also, I think actually we need to stop using the imperial scale.
We need to stop using the imperial scale.
It is garbage. Good job, Europeans. Have a good one.